Most people never figure this out until it is too late. They trust the wrong ones. They pour their loyalty, their time, their secrets into hands that were never meant to hold them. And then one day, they wake up empty. Not because they loved too much, but because they never learned to read the signs hidden beneath the surface of someone's behavior. Laozi understood something that most of humanity is still too distracted to grasp. He said that to know others is wisdom, but to know yourself is enlightenment. And here is the brutal truth. You cannot truly know others until you stop being fooled by what they show you and start paying attention to what they reveal without meaning to. This is not about paranoia. This is not about turning cold or closed. This is about developing the kind of deep sight that protects you from the people who will smile at you on Monday and destroy you by Friday. So watch carefully. These are the 7 things that tell you exactly who someone truly is. And if someone in your life does these things, trust them, but trust them carefully. Because even good people carry shadows. And the wisest among us learn to see both. The first sign is this: they are comfortable with silence. Not the awkward silence of someone who has run out of things to say, but the rare, settled silence of a person who does not need noise to feel safe. Most people fill silence with performance. They talk to prove they exist. They laugh too loud. They overshare too quickly. But a person who can sit quietly with you, who does not feel the need to sell themselves in every moment, that person has something most do not. They have an inner world. And people with inner worlds are dangerous, in the best possible way. They think before they speak. They feel before they act. And they almost never say anything they do not mean. Laozi taught that silence is the language of the universe. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. What this means for human beings is simple and devastating. The people who talk the most are often hiding the most. And the ones who say little carry the most truth. Be careful with the loud ones, but be deeply attentive to the quiet ones. The second sign is harder to recognize. They do not compete with your pain. When you are suffering, there are people who will immediately tell you about their own suffering. They cannot hold space for your wound without rushing to show you theirs. This is not cruelty, it is emptiness. It is a person who has never learned to be present for anything outside of themselves. But the person who sits with your pain without trying to outrun it, without comparing, without minimizing, they have cultivated something rare. Compassion without agenda. This is a person worth your trust, not your blind trust, but your careful, open-hearted trust. Because when the world falls apart around you, this is the kind of human being who will still be standing next to you. The third thing, they do not celebrate your failures in disguise. You know the type. The ones who say things like, "Well, I told you so," wrapped inside a sympathetic voice. Or the ones who ask how you are doing right after they have watched you fall. There's a category of person who feeds on the stumbles of others because it makes their own standing feel more secure. Laozi called this the person who does not know themselves. When you do not know your own worth, you measure it against the misfortune of everyone around you. But there are others, people who genuinely feel a quiet ache when you struggle. People who do not perform concern, but actually feel it. You can tell the difference if you are watching carefully. Their face changes before they have time to compose it. Their first response is not advice or analysis. It is humanity. Trust those people. But even then, carefully, because goodness in a person does not make them immune to fear, and fear makes even the best people behave in ways they later regret. The fourth sign is one that most people overlook entirely. They keep their word in small things. Not just the grand promises, not just the moments when stakes are high and witnesses are watching, but in the tiny, unimportant, forgettable moments when no one would ever know the difference. They said they would call. They called. They said they would be there. They were there. These micro-commitments are the blueprint of a person's character. Anyone can be trustworthy when the world is watching. But the person who is consistent in the invisible moments, that is someone whose reliability is not a performance. It is a practice. Laozi understood this deeply. He wrote about the way water works, soft, yielding, unimpressive in any single moment, but capable of carving through stone over time. Character works the same way. It is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in the quiet, unremarkable decisions a person makes when no one is grading them. The fifth sign is one that should make you pause. They are honest with you, even when honesty costs them something. Not brutal, not cruel, but honest. There is a kind of person who tells you what you want to hear because it keeps the peace, keeps the relationship smooth, keeps the discomfort at bay. And for a while, that feels like kindness. But eventually, you realize that their agreement was never about you. It was always about their own comfort. The person who tells you a hard truth gently, who risks your momentary anger to give you something real, that is a person who respects you enough to be uncomfortable for your sake. That is not common, that is rare, and it is worth protecting. The sixth thing, watch how they treat people who can do nothing for them. The server, the cleaner, the stranger who bumps into them on the street. Power reveals people, but so does powerlessness, specifically how someone responds to those they perceive as beneath them. Laozi wrote about the sage who does not distinguish between the great and the small, the worthy and the unworthy, because the Tao flows through everything equally. The wisest human beings understand instinctively that how you treat the powerless is the truest measure of who you are. So watch, not the way they treat you, the person they want something from. Watch the way they treat the world when there is nothing to gain. That will tell you everything. And whatever it tells you, believe it. The seventh sign is the most subtle and the most important. They do not need you to need them. There is a particular kind of person who gives in a way that creates debt. They help you, but only enough to keep you coming back. They support you, but never enough that you might outgrow them. Their care has a leash on it, and over time, without fully understanding why, you feel smaller around them instead of larger. Weaker, not stronger. But there is another kind. A person who gives and then steps back, who celebrates your growth without making it about their contribution, who loves you in a way that makes you feel free rather than bound. This is the most trustworthy person you will ever meet. And also the rarest. Because this kind of love requires the deepest security of all. The kind that does not need to be needed to feel real. Now here's the thing that Laozi would want you to understand above all else. He did not believe in perfect trust. He believed in clear sight. He believed that the greatest wisdom is not knowing who is good and who is evil. It is understanding that all human beings are water, capable of nourishing and capable of flooding. Capable of great softness and great destruction. The question is not whether someone is fully trustworthy. The question is whether you are awake enough to see who they are right now, in this moment, without the filter of who you need them to be. The most dangerous thing you will ever do is love a projection. To trust the version of someone you invented in your mind while ignoring the one standing in front of you. Most betrayals are not surprises. Most betrayals were announced, quietly, in small signs, long before the ending came. We just were not watching. So watch. Not with suspicion, not with coldness. Watch with the kind of clear, compassionate attention that Laozi called wei wei, effortless awareness. The kind of seeing that does not push or pull but simply observes what is already there. Because the truth about people is never hidden. It is always on display. The only question is whether you are willing to look. Trust carefully. Love deeply. And never mistake silence for safety, loudness for strength, kindness for loyalty, or need for love. The wisest thing you can do is not to trust no one. It is to see everyone, clearly, fully, without illusion, and then decide what they have earned. That is not cynicism, that is wisdom. And there is a difference.